Hey, what's happening everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 9 4 key game picks. We have reached the halfway point of the NFL season, going into week number 9. And before we talk about that, my picks for week number 9, let's talk quickly of what happened in week number 8. Now, the Patriots and 49ers still remain undefeated, winning their respective games by a wide margin. But obviously the 49ers winning their game very big against the Carolina Panthers. They put up 51 points against them. It's they're really making a case now to be the class of the NFC. But in my opinion, the NFC's pretty wide open right now. I mean, just look what the Packers did to the Chiefs. They won barely by touchdown, but Aaron Rodgers shown that he is clutch. The Saints, with Drew Brees back, they have their offensive weaponry back in their quarterback. He's played fantastic against the Cardinals last week. Seattle, the Seahawks getting back on track. You could make a case that there's about 4, maybe 5 NFC teams that are basically the class of that conference. And as far as the AFC goes, I don't think there's any team in the AFC, regardless, that who's going to stop the Patriots. I really don't know the way that they're playing right now. A huge blow for the Houston Texans. J.J. Watt is out for the season because of an upper body injury, so that really hurts their defense a lot. And as an NFL fan, I wish him the best. Hopefully he gets back on his feet. But it wouldn't surprise me that later down the road he might retire at an early age because of all these injuries. This is now his 4th season-ending injury. He really is really a very passionate football player, but it's just sad that injuries have really halted a potential Hall of Fame career, which now I don't think now he's ever going to get into the Hall of Fame because of this. Really tough that the Texans lost one of their J.J. Watt one more time, and it's really going to be tough for them to really, especially with the fact that the Texans are in a very competitive AFC South division. That really was, I think, in my opinion, the big story coming out of week number 8. Other than that, I mean, a lot of not much surprises that came out of week number 8 in terms of the games. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't that surprised that the Eagles really put on a strong effort and really put a beat down on the Buffalo Bills. They were playing desperate. Let's be real about something here. They were a desperate football team. A game they had to have with the Cowboys on their bye week, and they're doing absolutely their best to stay in contention. So really, right now, if I look at it, the NFC East in the NFC Conference and the NFC West really are the only 2 competitive divisions in the NFC Conference, and practically in the AFC, there's only really almost all the divisions right now pretty much are going to be decided the way things are going right now. I mean, the AFC West is probably the only competitive division remaining, even though technically everybody in that division is under 500. Anyways, not a lot went on in week number 8 other than the big injury to J.J. Watt. My friends, let's just talk about week number 9. All right, let's begin with key game number 1 and talking about the Texans. They are on one of my key game picks. It is the Houston Texans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. A key note about this game is playing at Wembley Stadium in London, so this is a London game. The Texans are a 2.5 point favorite in this one. That number should be a little bit lower, because now that the Texans really lost their leader of their defense, this really puts a strain now defensively. Now, another question to keep in mind about something here. Nick Foles is almost 100%, and he could be a game time decision. Do you go back to Foles, or do you stick with Minshew? I mean, this guy really has played fantastic in the absence of Nick Foles. I mean, last week going 22 of 34, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Then again, they were playing the Jets. I mean, the Jets are terrible. Texans, though, big win last week against the Raiders, having really had played in Watson played into a hard-fought game that give the Raiders their credit. Really put on a good game between them and the Texans. Watson 27 of 39, 279 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. A game that, in all honesty, that the Jaguars have to have in order to keep in contention for the AFC South. Now, even though the record doesn't show it, but really right now, this is a game that the Jacksonville Jaguars, in order to keep pace, not only just within their division, but also a wild card spot. Sorry if I hit my mic there. For the Texans right now, they're just trying to keep pace with the Colts in the battle for first place. This game's a toss-up. This game could go either way. I don't know, depending on the quarterback situation for the Jaguars, do you put Nick Foles for this game? He might expect to come back soon. But I think Minshew will get the start here. I mean, I really think he earned it. The way he's playing right now and keeping that Jacksonville Jaguar team together, give him the credit. I honestly think here this will be a back and forth game. This should be a good one in Wembley. I think it's going to be possibly maybe one of the games of the week, the games of the weekend here. But if I got to make a pick here, I'm going to pick the Houston Texans. I think the Texans and Deshaun Watson's running game, I think, is going to be enough for them to beat the Jaguars. But keep in mind, this is not a sure pick here, and the way the odds makers have it at 2.5 right now, it's tough. But I'm going to pick the Texans here. I think they'll beat the Jaguars in a very close game here. But this, I think, is going to be a good game. That's just my opinion, and that's my pick here: Texans over the Jaguars. Key game number 2: the Minnesota Vikings versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Vikings didn't play all that well last week. They only won by 10 points over a bad Redskins team. And there's some questions again with Kirk Cousins. Now, he did play fairly well, but their offense only scored 19 points, and their defense is starting to show signs of weakness. Now, Cousins went 23 of 26, 285 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Now, for the Chiefs, the Chiefs really played a hard-fought game against the Packers here, and that shows that Moore has done a great job in keeping that Kansas City offense intact, especially with Tyreek Hill back. It's really helping that offense a lot. Moore went 24 of 36, 267 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. The Minnesota Vikings are a slight favorite at 1 point. This would not surprise me one bit if the lines go even by game time here. So really, it's basically you pick them. But since I have to make a pick here, I'm actually going to pick the Chiefs in this game. They are clicking, and they're getting their offensive weapons back. And the way that Minnesota's defense played against the Redskins, if Andy Reid and that whole Chiefs offense and defense and their defensive coordinator saw what happened with the Redskins last week, I think they will expose that defense even without Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if he's going to play in this game. That's another thing that's going on that the Chiefs going to have to make a decision. But in all honesty, I think Moore will start this game. I'm putting this with a grain of salt here. This video is being posted up early, so I'm not 100% sure if Moore will start this game. I personally think he's going to start this game. I don't think Mahomes won't be back till next week. And won't be back until maybe a week or two. So I'll take this with a grain of salt here. I'm picking the Chiefs even if Patrick Mahomes is not going to be a quarterback for this game here. I think the Chiefs will win. They'll barely win this game. They know this is a game they have to have because the Raiders, even though their record is 5-3, we don't know how the Raiders will play in their next game. And the Raiders are going to be another team I will talk about in just a minute to keep pace in that AFC West. That conference is competitive, regardless of the fact that even though the Chiefs are supposed to run away with this division, the way they're playing right now, it's hard to tell what kind of Chiefs team we're getting. But I think the Chiefs will bounce back here. I think they will beat the Vikings in this one in a very, very close game. I see the Chiefs winning here. The Vikings are not a very good road team. And this is a game the Chiefs had to have in order to be more further ahead in that AFC West. Now, the Vikings also need this game too because they're only one game back of the Packers and they're trying to keep pace here. But I just think the Chiefs will beat them here. I think they're going to exploit some of the issues on that Minnesota defense here. I like the Chiefs in this game. Chiefs over the Vikings. Key game number 3, The Detroit Lions versus the Oakland Raiders. A game that the Raiders have to have. As I was talking about the Chiefs in a few minutes ago here, the Raiders right now, this is a game they must have in order to keep pace in the AFC West and try to also compete for a wild card spot. Now, the Raiders are a 2-point favorite in this one, and it wouldn't surprise me if this goes to 1 point by game time. Now, Matthew Stafford in a big win last week, a game they had to have against the Giants, 25 of 32, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. While David Carr in a very heartbreaking loss to the Texans, he went 18 of 30, 285 yards, and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. This game really is a toss-up here. Detroit is really not a good road team, but the way things are going for that Lions team, this is a game the Lions have to have as well as the Raiders do. I think if the Lions offense can just stay focused here, and the way the Raiders defense is playing right now. The Raiders offense is clicking. And I think this game is going to go back and forth between these two teams, and I think this game is going to be a good game in Oakland on Sunday. It's going to be a very close game. I could see probably I could see either one of these two teams to win probably by a field goal here. This game could go either way. I'm not very certain about my pick in this one here because the odds have it a 2-point favor for the Raiders, which probably may go down to 1. So this might be close to another one of those lines, or even you pick them. Detroit's offense got to click. They got to stay together as well as the Raiders offense. I think to me it comes down in this game to who doesn't turn the ball over and which defense steps up in this game. So it's a tough pick here, but I'm going to pick the Detroit Lions here. I think the Lions will beat the Raiders here. It's going to be a very close game, but I'm picking the Lions here. I think they will beat the Raiders here. The Raiders are having issues defense-wise. Their offense is clicking, but their defense, they're having issues. They're having trouble with the pass rush. And that's why I'm going to pick the Lions in this game here. I think the Lions will beat the Raiders here. Lions over the Raiders. And finally, key game number 4, a big one here. The New England Patriots versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens are coming off a bye week in a game that I would say more or less a statement win last week, 2 weeks ago against a very good Seattle Seahawks team. Now, the Patriots, that was expected last week to blow out the Browns here because the Browns are a mess, and I would have thought it would have been a marquee game there, but the way the Browns are playing, they deserve to lose. Now, the Patriots are a 3.5-point favorite, and that's just about right here. This is going to be a real test for Lamar Jackson and that Baltimore offense, as they will be tested with a tough Patriot defense. Brady went 20 of 36, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions in a dominating win over the Browns. Now, from week number 7, Lamar Jackson went 9 of 20, 143 yards, no touchdowns, or interceptions. So, despite the fact that the Ravens, even though they had a statement win, their defense was the one that did the work against the Seahawks 2 weeks ago. So, if the Ravens want any hope, can they duplicate that defensive dominance they had against the Seahawks to the New England Patriots? Because the Patriots have an advantage in terms of defense here. Offense-wise, they're about even. And Lamar Jackson, if he becomes mobile here, they have a shot. They have a shot to beat the Patriots, to give them their first loss of the season. But Tom Brady is clutch. If the Ravens have a lead, knowing the Patriots and in the way he exploits defenses very well, I like the New England Patriots in this game. I think they'll win. They'll stay undefeated. This may be a test here for the Patriots if they can stop Lamar Jackson from running out of the pocket here. I think that even if the Ravens have a lead in the game, I think that the Patriots and their clutch, I think they will beat the Ravens here in a very close. I think it's going to be a much closer game than people will anticipate here, but I see the Patriots coming out the victors here. I'm going to pick the Patriots over the Ravens. All right, everybody, that wraps up my picks for week number 9. For all of my week 9 picks, please check the description below. And until then, I will talk to you guys next week when I talk about my picks for week number 10. Take care and enjoy your football weekend.